I'm Brittany Lewis with Forbes Breaking News. Press Secretary Jen Psaki was asked about President Biden's recent conversation with Mexican President Obrador during her press briefing on Friday. Psaki confirmed the conversation was mostly about migration and steps needed to reduce it. On that line, Psaki was further asked about the Biden administration's potential decision to rescind Title 42, in light of concerns of Senate Democrats engaged in tough re-election fights. Here is Psaki's response.
In the president's conversation with AMLO, with the Mexican president, just ended, did President Biden make any specific requests of his Mexican counterpart in terms of increasing Mexican either troops or enforcement along either the U.S.-Mexico border or the Mexico border with Central American countries?
Well, what the focus, I have not received an extensive readout yet. I know you will receive one probably while I'm up here. But the majority of the conversation was about migration and was about continued work on coordination, on economic coordination, on taking steps to reduce migration to the border. And they have been a partner in that over the last several months. In terms of specific asks, I just don't have more on that. But I know, Mike, that one of the follow-ups here will be coordination and discussion at a high level from members of their respective national security teams to continue to work together as we head toward the important meetings coming up in a few weeks.
Yeah, I mean, I think just as a quick follow-up, I understand that it just ended, and so maybe you don't have the information now. Yeah. If there's a way to get more information about the specific question of whether or not the United States has asked, you'll remember President Trump pushed the Mexican government to try to increase enforcement along the border by threatening tariffs. Obviously, that's a different strategy.
It's not our approach.
Probably isn't your approach, but it wouldn't be out of the question to imagine that this government would encourage, pressure, ask the Mexican government to do more, especially on the eve of Title 42 potentially coming down.
Well, I think it's important to remember, I mean, the tone of the call was very constructive. This was not a call where President Biden was threatening the Mexican president in any way. They have been an important partner. We expect them to continue to be. And this call was planned in part because of the Summit of the Americas, but also because of the approaching lifting of Title 42 and the anticipation and expectation from the Department of Homeland Security of the increased influx of migrants trying to come to cross the border. So, but it was meant to be a constructive call. It was not meant to deliver a threatening message. That is my understanding of what took place. And certainly if there's more to provide, we will provide that to all of you. Go ahead.
The concerns that Democrats are expressing about Title 42, if it is in fact lifted, and these are some quotes that were in Politico today. Maggie Hassan says, what I didn't hear was specifics about numbers and deployment and really meeting the need at the border. Senator Catherine Cortez Masto said she still hasn't seen a comprehensive plan. And Senator Mark Kelly has said there's having things on a piece of paper and then what is going on in the southern border. And there's a huge disconnect. What is the administration doing to address those concerns and that criticism that there may be a plan on paper, but they certainly haven't seen it at the border yet?
Well, first, there's an extensive plan on paper that includes a 6-pillar approach to planning for and preparing for the lifting of Title 42, including surging resources, personnel, transportation, medical support, facilities to support border operations. It also includes enhancing CBP processing efficiency and moving with deliberate speed to mitigate potential overcrowding of Border Patrol stations, something in anticipation they are preparing for the possibility of. It also includes administering consequences for unlawful entry. That's Pillar 3. It includes number 4 is bolstering the capacity of non-governmental organizations who have been important partners to us as we're working to implement, to receive non-citizens after they've been processed. It also includes targeting and disrupting the transnational criminal organizations, and finally deterring irregular migration. What it is not, and this is where we absolutely, of course, agree with these members and others, is an immigration reform plan. And that is something that we strongly support. This is a reminder of the need for, how outdated it is, how broken the system is. But Title 42 has never been an immigration plan.
How soon will the plan that you just laid out actually go into effect, understanding that it may take some time?
Yeah.
But how soon will people actually feel the real impact so that, as Senator Kelly is saying, this disconnect doesn't exist, so that there's actual proof that it's taking place?
Well, the Title 42 lifts on May 23rd. It doesn't lift.
Nothing happens until.
I would
Title
point to the Department of Homeland Security for the implementation plan, but I think that's what's important to note here. We haven't seen, the impacts of the lifting surges because it hasn't happened yet. I'd also note that Secretary Mayorkas testified, I believe, before 4 committees over the last 2 days about exactly this
And yet there's still this skepticism.
in order to answer their questions, and I'm sure he's happy to have continued conversations.
How concerned is the president that these members of his own party, who are facing tough reelection battles,
Yeah.
as you know, have these serious concerns and clearly are expressing fears that it might impact them politically, might impact their chances for reelection?
Well, without speaking to the politics, I would say, Kristen, the president shares the concern about the lack of a workable immigration system, and that impacts many of the border state leaders quite a bit, of course, because there isn't an effective asylum processing system, because we don't have smart security. We spent years investing in a faulty border wall that was never going to be an effective mechanism. He shares their concerns about that, and he recognizes and agrees with that.
How would you characterize how committed he is, understanding that an appeal, if it comes to that, is not in his hands? Would he want to see this fight go all the way to the Supreme Court?
I'm certainly not going to get ahead of a legal process. I will note, and Mary, I think Mary asked about this yesterday. So let me, in terms of where things stand, so right now what we saw yesterday is that the district court presiding over one of the challenges to the Title 42 rescission order finally officially entered, because they'd just done it verbally, a temporary restraining order. What that basically means is they're saying we can't lift Title 42 before May 23rd. That has not been our plan to date, as you know. What is next is there's going to be a hearing on Arizona's preliminary injunction motion. That's scheduled to take place on May 13th. So any decision about what's next, of course, would happen from the Department of Justice, but wouldn't happen until after that. What I would note is that the judge has indicated he will rule unfavorably towards the administration at this time, but we don't know, and we don't officially know, and we won't know until he makes a ruling, and then the Department of Justice would make any decision about legal action.